All right. Hello, Taurus. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you're doing great. Fantastic to see everybody. It's been a busy morning. I actually got up really early today with a lot of messages coming through from Spirit and Dreams. So we'll be talking about that in just a second. If you're brand new, let me just show you what's going on here. We're having our monthly reading. This can be used for your sun, your rising, and also for your moon sign. And as you can see here with the format right where Apollo's face is, we have channeled messages, Celtic Cross, I know buddy, big idea, blessings and blocks, viewer's choice, and then a meditation at the end. Don't worry, we'll go through each section as we get through it. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. My sometimes assistant here is Apollo, if he's awake from his nap. I'm going to put him back there in his bed so we can relax a little bit and get started. All right, buddy. There you go. Good boy. Yes. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the energies that are coming through for the month ahead. I always like to work about 6 to 8 weeks in advance, but one of the cool things about anybody who kind of shows up regularly is you get into a sort of zone where you want to look ahead. You're already kind of like caught up. So as we're looking here at the energy of March, you want to be prepared for what's coming through. So I'm all about empowerment here. A lot of readers are going to say, this is happening, this is happening. I'm going to show you opportunities and I can kind of present options for you. And I really think that's the important differentiating fact here is you always have a choice. Free will is always important. And so without further ado, let's get started. Just one couple of quick things here. First of all, if you have any questions, I have an amazing moderator here, Maria Margarita. She'd be happy to answer your questions or direct you in the right sort of place. Also, if you're brand new and you enjoy what you see here, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button. It's a great way to continue to see this channel grow and reach more people. If you're already subscribed, you can hit the thumbs up once, that like button. And if you'd like to keep track of what's going on, you can get reminders by clicking the bell icon. I'll eventually update this to show the bell as well. One key thing with subscribe, a lot of people think that means you have to pay. You don't. It's the same as follow on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. It's just a poorly named feature here, but please do click the subscribe button so you can connect with me. All right. Also, speaking of those other platforms, I definitely have a presence there. So all of them are listed right here. It's pretty much just my name on all social media. So Nicholas Ashbaugh, no spaces, no extra characters. There's some crazy people on Instagram that like to pop up and pretend to be me. Just remember to be smart. If someone tries to message you, add you, or ask for something, that is definitely not me. And I don't offer private readings. So that's a big red flag if they do that. Twitter is right here. It's an Ashbaugh. And you can see all of that on my website. I pinned a link just a second ago. If you'd like to see my schedule, it's listed here as well. And basically, easy to remember, I'm usually live every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Friday. I do impromptu readings. That's why you want to click that bell icon where I will just show up when I feel like it. So I also add a few extra each month as well. And if you'd like to show a little bit of support, you can do that by clicking on the Super Chat, Super Sticker, or become a member, basically. And it's this little thing right here, right next to the smiley face. There you go. And that's a great way to give back. And I always say thanks at the very end. I know some people already gave back. I can see it here on my monitor on the side when I got started. A few member chats there as well. So thank you so much for your support. All right, now let's get into the channel messages. Let me just pull up the slide presentation and I'll put the picture in picture so we can see it. Hopefully you can. There you go. All right. So some exciting sort of imagery came through today. Some things that I haven't actually worked with that much. One of them is the puffin. You can do a Google to look at this cute little fluffy bird. It's usually in Arctic regions, but there are a few different types of puffins. But we're just going to generically look at what the bird can offer us in the form of a symbol. So I'll talk about that in a second. Then I was also shown something that just reminded me of liberation, locks and chains, and the ability to kind of like unshackle yourself. So without any additional delay, let's talk about the puffin first. So puffins to me are fascinating birds. They can actually hold up to 10 fish in their beak. And part of it is because of the shape of the beak and the mouth. The other thing is that the tongue, it's almost kind of like Velcro, I think, based on what I was researching, where it kind of like catches the fish on the tongue. So it's kind of cool that they can basically bite a lot and chew all of that. And it's sort of like, we'll talk about this in a second, but there's that phrase, don't bite more than you can chew. They definitely know how much they can take in. And that's a cool thing that will apply to you in just a moment. With great effort, they can fly. I know that when it comes to other birds like penguins, not as successful. They can kind of hop and go a little distance, but puffins can actually fly. It just takes a lot of flapping of the wings. It's a great effort. This is interesting. They lay 1 egg per year. Usually go back and pair up with the same partner. So there's that kind of monogamous energy there, but 1 egg is the thing that we'll be focusing on. Singular focus on something that you really care about rather than scattering your energy. So I like that. They shed their beaks. They don't always have that colorful beak. A lot of times this is just around the mating season, and then they let go of that. Their Latin name is pretty interesting. It has the sort of fraternal root in it there. So I can't even say that, but it's like friar or brother of the north, basically, or the Arctic. And it could allude to the beak looking, their feathers looking a little bit like the robe of a friar. I didn't put this in the slides here, but I want to mention it right now. There could be some sisterly or brotherly energy that's coming through, something with brother, sister, cousin, where you might be trying to heal or work past that. And communication could be a big piece of that. So as we look at some of the slides and also some of the cards today, we'll take a special look for those close family relationships as well. They spend most of their time at sea, floating on the water and hunting for fish, but they do have this cool kind of connection going between the different elements. They can touch the earth, they can touch the water, and they can fly in the air. So to me, that shows you that you have a lot of capability going in different energies, different directions. The only thing kind of missing there is fire, but has most of what the magician would have. So you have this capacity to kind of go anywhere you want. All right, everybody's favorite card here, but sometimes we have to talk about it. So this is one of the first decks that I owned, and I have it over here on the side. It's called Robin Wood. It's probably my favorite, or one of my favorite illustrations for the devil card, because there's actually no devil in it. It's just about the sort of chains. And so when we think of, I'll use another like movie example that kind of reminds me of this too. It's like Jacob Marley in A Christmas Carol, Ebenezer Scrooge's original partner. He comes in, takes off his cloth, his jaw goes down, but he has all of these chains and he makes all this noise. And then he tells Ebenezer, I built these in life. After Ebenezer says, what are those and why are you carrying all of those? So we all create these chains in our own lives. And sometimes it's a connection, like we can be committing to something that we don't want to do. Sometimes someone tries to rope us into something and lock us into a situation. And what I was shown was the sort of image of the devil card, and then I just chose to walk away. And the person there that was kind of personifying the energy of the devil said, you're going to regret this. And I thought, no, I'm not. I know exactly what kind of deal that is, and I'm not interested in that. And so the devil energy will work with things like fear, intimidation, guilt, jealousy. And so if you're in the energy of any of that, the reminder here is to politely walk away and redirect your attention to something else. It's time to release that and focus on fulfillment and your own empowerment. I actually sometimes, believe it or not, see the devil card as an indicator that you're on the right path, because low frequency energy will come through as a final test just before you're ready to kind of like really go through and enter into the star, for instance, or the world. So the universe wants to check one more time and say, have you released your limits? Have you gotten rid of all those conditions? And you can and you will do that. Remember, if we take the journey of the Fool, you actually got the keys right around the Hierophant, right? So card number 5, you actually got what you needed. You just need to use the key here on this devil card at 15 and let go. All right, so remember what you're ready to release. This time around, you're not going to play the fool. You're going to sort of say, yeah, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. All right, so that's it. It's time for growth and liberation. Really, we could see it as devil reversed, okay? I just chose to put it upright because it's nicer to look at the card upright. All right, don't bite off more than you can chew. We're not the puffin. The puffin has this sort of specialized beak and tongue, like I said, that allows it to do things that normal animals and people can't. So justice is really what's coming through here, to be discerning, to find the necessary balance in your life, and to really assess a situation from an objective viewpoint. Sometimes you're too in the middle of it to kind of like be able to see it for what it truly is. So in that situation, make sure someone else can catch the sort of loophole. So devil in the details means there might be something hidden in the fine print, that there might be something that's hidden through omission. Omission is one of the biggest tools of the devil card because, or the devil energy, because what you don't know, actually can hurt you. So I would say be inquisitive, ask a little bit more, make sure that you understand everything, okay? You're going to be fine because that's really what I'm seeing here. You just have to sort of put the limits and say, I don't want to do this, or this doesn't seem right, or I want more of this. If you need more resources, you're going to balance the scales, okay? Sometimes less is more. I really liked when I was researching the puffin that they only lay one egg. It's kind of like what a human normally does. Sometimes we can have multiples in birth, whether it's twins or triplets or quadruplets, etc. But the norm is usually one, and it's kind of it's not by accident. It's actually because it allows you to really put as much resources into that little baby as possible. So when you have 2 or 3 mouths to feed, you're being spread thin, your energy is a little bit lower, but when it's just one child at a time that you're kind of like raising, then there's a lot more that you can give. So imagine that you're going to give birth to something figuratively in your life, whether it's a project, whether you're going to focus singularly on something, maybe focusing on your personal health or your mental health, or learning something. Try to put some of the other stuff to the side, and we're basically moving from maybe the 2 of Pentacles or the 7 of Pentacles, where you're being stretched, to this Ace, where you can really see growth. And I like this card from the Light Seers deck because it's showing the growth potential. I always like to see the Ace as a seed or an egg or some sort of a symbol where you can see growth happening from that. The beak comes off, like I said, on the puffin after the mating season. Not the whole beak, just they kind of have these extra pieces that create all the colors, and then it's just like a normal functional beak. So when I'm looking at that, it's the same sort of energy we would see with like a snake, for instance, where it has to shed its skin in order to grow. There's a lot of other animals that have to get rid of their exoskeletons in order to grow as well. So for you, the Judgment card is understanding what's necessary to release. I know I need to do this. I know I need to let this go. And I know that by releasing this, by unlocking something, that I'm going to be able to fly and rise from the ashes. So to me, this is always a second chance, a rebirth, a reimagining of what you were, what you are, what you can be. And the only thing that can stand in the way of manifestation is disbelief in your own potential. Suffice it to say, I want you to believe in yourself, but it's always up to you. You have to sort of take that mantle and believe in yourself on your own, okay? One of the things that will help you, a mantra that you can keep with you, is the mantra, I am worthy. Love yourself enough to walk away from people, places, or things that convey a message that you're less than or you're not worthy. And if someone in your life isn't ready to give you what you want, the devil actually can represent something really alluring, something that can be, appealing to us, but it's not available. That could, for some of you, just mean that there's some sort of a job and you just can't get there because of a certain requirement. There could be a house, but you can't afford it. In love, this card comes up all the time when someone isn't ready to give you what you want. Maybe that is commitment. Maybe it's a child. Maybe it's, even just their attention, or maybe they're stuck in a contract like a marriage. There's something that's limiting. And for you, you are the Empress, and I have this here from the Modern Witch deck, which I'll be reading with later today, showing that you actually have the capacity to create. You don't need that person for whatever it is that you're trying to bring about. It would be nice to have that person, place, or thing, but you don't need it. And you are worthy enough, which is why I chose a queen here, to have them come to you. You shouldn't be chasing eternally after something. So unrequited love or lack of availability, lack of imagination, lack in general. These are the things that you don't have time for. There's too much to celebrate. There's too much growth this month. Let me just check. I think this might be the last of the cards. No, there's one more. All right, so the very last slide here is third parties. This also ties in with that same sort of energy that's kind of attached with the devil, but I think third parties can play either sort of side of the fence. The positive here is that you should definitely focus on your networking. You could meet someone, maybe someone sets you up or introduces you to someone that's key to success at work, maybe success in love, maybe you just meet a new friend. So the third party could be good. It's also an indication here, the Three of Cups, to celebrate, another card here from the Modern Witch deck. It can also represent challenges, but these are very much sort of challenges that you will be able to overcome. It's usually gossip or cliques or someone that's trying to get in the middle of you and someone else. Sometimes this is a family member that just kind of comes in and like a thorn, they insert themselves in the middle and they cause trouble. They're shaking that hornet's nest and seeing what they can do. Sometimes it's a person that really likes what you have and they're just trying to kind of get in there and get in your headspace. It's just one person. It's just one point of view. You're more powerful than that and you're not going to succumb to that lower energy. Sometimes the Three of Cups has a devil masquerading in it. So you want to be careful of that. But I also think it can be positive. I always try to look at things objectively. I don't sugarcoat things. I will look at it from both perspectives. So I see a lot of benefits in kind of putting yourself out there and seeing what comes of group interactions. But I also see that you want to be super discerning this month and strong and willing to kind of push back and say, that doesn't work with me. Okay? People get surprised when you push back sometimes because it's not what's expected. A lot of times people are just used to acquiescing and people kind of being able to be triggered by that sense of fear or anxiety. So you are going to rise above the energy that I saw this month and really shine. We got the ace in there, that Ace of Pentacles. We see the shedding of the skin and the Judgment card. And so this is why, for me, I love looking at everything that we're talking about right now, which by the way is channeled messages, because you don't really even need cards when you start to kind of tune into the energies. I can kind of see them all in my head with even just one totem. I could do a whole reading. We'll be looking at the cards today just to add some additional energy and insight, and I know all of you like to see it, but once you kind of really start to tap into your higher psychic self, it all comes through. So that's why I share the channel messages with you. All right, so let's kind of take a look here at what's next. We're going to look at the Celtic Cross. I was called today, especially as I was setting up, to actually choose for us. Sometimes I let you vote. You'll still be having a chance to vote when we do the viewer's choice a little bit later. But for this, I was really wanting to use the Modern Witch deck, so I'm going to use it. So we're going to start with the Celtic Cross next, and then I'll expand the forecast afterwards. All right, so let me just get everything set up here. And I just want to say welcome again. As you can see right here, you can use this for your sun, rising, and moon. And we're going to move along now to the Celtic Cross and take a look at the messages coming through for you this month. All right, let me just focus on the desk as I'm doing this, and then I will break it all down and share each and every card afterwards. Cards that just volunteered, so I'm going to allow these to be what comes through. All right. Lots of volunteers today. All right, so let's take a look at your two-part catalyst card here. So we have this, the first card here is the Bardo, which is kind of like this liminal card showing connection between two different planes, and we can kind of see life at the center, and we see all of the sort of skulls showing life and death. A lot of the judgment energy that I was talking about is present here, and one of the things that this is reminding you is that you're able to, if you're able to see something, you're able to open up the portal. you're able to open up the opportunity. I talk about this a lot though. If you lack that vision, if you lack the imagination to see something as being possible, then it becomes difficult for other people to see it as well. So I really want you to focus on believing in the possibilities and focusing on trying your best to kind of like open up in that energy. So if you can see it, you can do it, is how I would really summarize this. And also, some of you may see the change, the end, the shift before it's even happened. And that's just showing you that you're really tuned in. Don't be afraid of going toward that ultimate change or shift. It's going to bode well for you. And you can continue to change your mind and your vision as you move through your life. I think that it's crazy sometimes that we're challenged or tasked or asked as a child, often like 16, 17, 18, to decide our path as an adult. I know that as I got into the decades after that, you start to sort of realize, especially as you approach mid or latter parts of your life, you're like, I didn't even know one iota of what the world was or who I was. So I think every 5 to 7 years, we can absolutely take a different perspective and say, I want to change. I think there's something even biologically where it's like every 7 years you kind of have shed all the different layers and everything. So just like the snake or the puffin, we have to sometimes let go of parts of ourselves. So if there's a part of yourself from childhood, from last week, from yesterday, that you're ready to let go of, you've grown. We're growing every moment, just even as a part of this reading. So give yourself the ability to continue to change the way that you see your life, okay? And so the other thing with this, since we're looking at the iris, is the focus. And that's what I was talking about with that ace card. To me, this is just an ace surrounded by a lot of energy of change. All those little skulls are like transformation. So one epiphany, one different point of view can completely alter your life trajectory. We get those aha moments in different ways, all of us, but I'm sure many of you can think of at least one pivotal moment. For many people, it's falling in love or having a crush. Almost everyone's had that experience at some point where you meet someone and you think, okay, I want to focus on that now. It can also be about what happens when you connect with your path. Maybe you got a dream job. Maybe you suddenly know that you need to move and do a certain type of work. That aha moment, that light bulb moment, gives you the focus. So keep focusing on trying to get into that energy that really pushes you to the next level. All right, we have a dead end here, which is really being supported. And again, I feel like you can push through it. This is the illusion, and this card here is the solution. So the illusion is I'm stuck. There could also be something that's a gift. You know, I do blessings and blocks in my reading. So there is a blessing in the block, which is if you are stuck, then you're not supposed to stay there. Then there's something else that would be a better use of your time and energy. So whenever I felt like there's a glass ceiling or an imaginary brick wall in front of me, I'll try to punch through the ceiling or go around or under the wall. It's like there's another path. So let's think of why you're being blocked and what else could be a better energetic investment for you. And I think that's going to be important, and that's something you'll have to think about. All right, let's take a look here at what's at the center. So smack dab in the center here, we have relationships and changes in relationships. We have the Four of Wands. So what's interesting here is it could be, actually most of the energy today is pretty bright and light. So even here on the outcome here, we have the Page of Cups, right? So what's happening here is for some of you, you might have really connected in an amazing way to someone or something. Four of Wands can be a relationship. It can also be an environment like school or a job. All of those things fall into this category. When you meet or connect with someone like that, it is life-changing. It's life-altering. And just like this Bardo card, the same sort of thing. You see yourself in a different light. A lot of times this is unavoidable, and it's also something that you manifested. And we have the world here upside down. It's going to change your perspective. Let's just start with the center card first. So taking a look at the Four of Wands. Friendship, partnership, opportunity, also holding space and believing that you are worthy, as I said in that slide, and you are capable. And when something comes through, that you're ready and willing to receive that abundance in the highest form. So if someone comes knocking and you've been waiting for this, then you answer the door and you say, thanks. I've been hoping and waiting and anticipating this. So I do feel like there's some good news on the horizon, particularly for your sign here. The choice is always with you, as I said earlier, if you're ready to receive it. Also, you may be focusing more on friendships right now, less on love, because I don't read solely on love. I know a lot of readers are always reading on your person, but for me, when I'm looking at this, it's always about you and what's going on around you. So when I look at this as an aspect of you, what we're really seeing here is that you've set up some great energy for people to want to come into your life. So I feel like there's a lot of partnerships and engagements, but it doesn't have to be romantic. The question here for you is, what are you trying to create? Because it's crossed by the Tower card. So some of you may be moving in or moving out. So a relationship could be falling together or falling apart. You could also be moving to a new place in order to start something like a job, or just because you're ready. And that move itself is actually going to bring in some of these new people. I actually see the Tower as shaking up the sort of like barnacles on a ship. It's not always bad. When it's crossing a bunch of good cards, it's just saying, buckle your seatbelt. There's some cool changes abounding. The thing is, you got to keep your head on straight here with the world reversed. Let's kind of travel our way through the cards here. I try not to get ahead of myself too much. In the deep past, I just want you to remember you've done the work here. The Magician card is manifesting. The only thing that it lacks sometimes is the focus and the belief that is a part of the High Priestess, but it definitely has all the tools. So I just want you to remember, you did this. You've created this opportunity. And if you're not happy with where you're at, you can recreate something else. You can unlock, you can unshackle those chains that I was picking up on intuitively when I saw that sort of image of the devil. So what's important for you is to believe in your power, believe in your autonomy, and to do something positive with it, okay? The Magician is one of my favorite cards, and I love that it's in the deep past. So continue to focus on positive thoughts, and it will also continue to evoke good things in your life. You are powerful, you are worthy, and that's definitely being underlined and supported by this one, okay? So keeping an open mind could be the single biggest challenge for many of you this month. We have the Knight of Wands reversed. I like the Knight of Wands, but when it's reversed, sometimes it can be too attached to a single outcome or a single way of doing something. And the big message here is that there's more than one point of view. There's more than one way to sort of like crack an egg, I guess, or whatever, use your favorite expression here. But you can do this, and if you kind of approach it in a different perspective, it may happen faster. It may be more kind of like effective or easy or enjoyable. So keep an open mind. For many of you, this is also just about, I mean, this is Taurus, being headstrong. And I say that with love. I have it in my moon placement. So know when it's going to be okay and when you're just going to have to focus on something. So at the negotiation table, there may be something that you require to be happy. And if that's a necessity, then just put it out there. Say, I'm willing to relent on this and this, but I'm not going to on this. This is important for me. And setting up the flexibility points there and helping people see where you can flex will show that you're not sort of like beyond compromise, but there might be something that you really want to anchor down and say, this is mine. So just go for it. I like that it's a night. It's not going to be overwhelming when you do that. Just make sure that this doesn't bring everything to a halt. So there might be other areas where you can move if you're having an impasse in one part of your life. Try to always keep the wheels moving because you have a lot of positive energy this month. Looking at the crowning card here, we have the World. The World is where your head is at. It's where your sort of your cognitive abilities are existing. And as we look at this here and what it means for you, it can mean that I know I'm doing the right thing, but it's taking me a while to get my footing. It's taking me a while to feel like this is where I should be. Change takes time. Acceptance is often like the last step here. Sometimes you have to push yourself through to the next thing way beyond, or way before, I should say, the point that you're really ready. Just because there might be deadlines, there might be people relying on you, there might be some sort of a stipulation that something has to be done by a certain time. And because windows of opportunity close and we don't know when they're going to open again, you may just be listening to your higher self and saying, I got to do this, I'm going to do this, but it's going to take me a while. It's going to take time for the dust to settle. I like to use the analogy of solar systems where basically there's a ton of dust and that's the star basically at the center is going to be the anchor. But it takes a long time for all the dust around it to create planets and satellites and asteroids and other things. That doesn't happen overnight. So in your own world creation, the same thing is true. it takes time to build it. For those of you that are writers like me, world building takes time. I actually, fun fact, when I was doing my novel, I actually wrote the appendix as I wrote it. And sometimes I would geek out and put things in the appendix so I could understand the backstory of certain places or people or things in my novel, so that by the time I was writing about it, then I knew that rich knowledge and I could kind of like infuse it. In your own life, if you can kind of really get an understanding, a deep understanding of things, when it comes to application, it's going to be easier. So education is something that I was talking to Aries about yesterday. That may actually be something that you want to do as well, focusing just a little bit on expanding your knowledge, expanding your horizons a bit. All right. And I say that as a nice segue here to the Hermit card, where many of you are learning what makes you tick, what really sort of inspires you. What I like about this card is you can see the star. Instead of holding it in an old-fashioned lantern, she's wearing it as a sigil around her heart or around her solar plexus. It also looks to me like an ace. So we've kind of combined the Ace of Pentacles and the star. I mean, pentacles are stars, so that makes sense. And this is showing me that you're getting ready to work your magic and step out there in the limelight. But there's always this momentary, I should say, pause before that sort of declaration or that coming out. So for some of you, I guess what I would like you to think about is, if you're trying to do something, what is causing perhaps the hesitation or that sort of second guessing that could be a part of sometimes judgment reversed? Remember what I said earlier, disbelief can often hold things back, and I don't want you to feel like you're being held back. Also, when opportunity comes knocking, we want to make sure that the universe is picking up on the fact that you are ready, okay? Everything's really good here if you can't see that. So this is positive change in relationship, change in location, change in feeling like more powerful than you're used to. But you're having maybe perhaps difficulty accepting that between these two cards. Okay, let's go into how you're showing up, mind, body, and spirit here a little bit. We have the Nine of Wands, and pretty darn strong, I have to say. With the Nine of Wands, there's always that feeling of a little bit of fatigue. So cool that I'm doing this reading while the Olympics are going on. So you'll notice a lot of times, let's kind of think of maybe like speed racing or something like that, or speed skating rather. You'll notice that final leg, they have to really find the energy out of nowhere. Just like if it was track and field, that final leg of the journey is the hardest, because you'll even notice sometimes, particularly in track and field, the bodies of those athletes will kind of spasm a little bit towards the end, because it's their brain and it's their mind pushing beyond the sort of limitations of the body. And sometimes it's the body pushing through the limitations of the brain. So you could have a little bit of both this month, and the athletes in the Olympics are kind of reminding me of that final push. So if you kind of have that spasm or freak out, just take a few deep breaths and make it to the finish line. And that's basically what the Nine of Wands is reminding you here. You've done the internal work that you need to do. The change is already underway. It's just a matter of you pushing through and believing in yourself and finishing what you started, really, okay? So Nine of Wands is a journey that's almost completed, a little bit more work to be done, so don't give up at all. I like what I'm seeing. We also have a Page of Wands here when we're looking at the environment. So there could be good news being handed to you. There could be an offer coming through for some of you. And it's kind of a question, what do you want to do with this? Someone may also be asking you for advice. And you may think to yourself, I don't know, but you kind of do. You have all of the tools and all of the insight. Sometimes we second guess our own ability to kind of think it through. It's usually easier when you advise someone else versus making a decision for yourself. But if you are tasked with something, let's say a boss or a family member says, hey, I want you to work on this because I believe in you, then remember, this is kind of like the unshackling. You could be shackling yourself back and thinking, I can't do it. So say, all right, well, if you believe in me, I'll do this, but I may need your support. I may need some additional resources. If I can get the support and resources and the commitment that you're there for me, then let's do this together. And I say the let's because right at the center, we have the Four of Wands. So you're not alone. They're there for you. Don't feel like you're going to have to keep this stuff to yourself. Work in concert with. And we actually have a knight and a page here, which work really well. And we have a king and a page here. You got a lot of people around you, actually. So definitely, if I were to just pull out one little piece here, I would say, by no sort of like shadow of doubt here. You're not alone. You have support. It's just a question of, are you willing and ready to ask for that support, ask for that help, right? All right, when I look at hopes, fears, and opportunities, some of you don't want to be told what to do. Hello, Taurus party of one here. I understand that sometimes. So the King of Wands is saying, I know how to do this best. I don't want anyone kind of getting in my business. I get it, but partnership is going to be one of the important things this month. So keeping an open mind, it's very interesting that both the King and a Knight are reversed here. That's going to be one of your big lessons and your big opportunities. The other thing with this card, and I just talked about it in another sign and actually even chose it as the sort of featured clip when I was putting it on social media, was to really just let people come to you and mind your own business affairs and your own life in general. And I know that you have great insights. You have the great potential to kind of be a good boss and be a good leader. But especially for those of you that have children, or even those of you that are managers, you realize sometimes people don't want the help and they almost need to learn things the hard way. So let them do it as long as they're not in any danger. There's actually value to empowering people to find their own way. It tells them, I know you're strong, I know you're capable, you know I'm a resource here. You can tap into this resource whenever you want it, but I'm not going to get in your way of being really powerful and really effective. Also, when you let go of that, then you also allow yourself to manage your own life more effectively. And that means that you can focus on, your business, your finances, your health, your happiness. So be the boss, but be the boss of your own life. And maybe you need to find a place where people do want to listen to you. So if you're at a place where, because of culture, environment, because of just how they historically treat people, maybe they just don't like leaders. And if you're in a place where you're not being supported for any number of reasons, then this is your chance to kind of like find a place where it will work. I really like this deck because they have divine feminine and the divine masculine roles, and I like to remind people that there's really no gender in the court cards. They're just ranks. So it's page basically being the beginning, knight, queen, and king. So we just chose those words to show the ranking, but male or female energy or anything in between can exist in all of those ranks. So what I am seeing here is something contrary or counter to the expectation of the role. That means that for some of you, we've seen this in nursing profession where men stepped in, and it's so stupid when people, I shouldn't say stupid, it's so backward or old school to say I had a male nurse. You had a nurse who happened to be a man. Because you wouldn't have to say I had a female boss. You would say I have a boss. So we're hopefully getting past these sort of gender things. They don't make a difference. And if you're in a place where gender or some other facet of your life, whether it's orientation or race or religion or background is entering in, it may be a battle or a mantle that you want to fight. The important thing here is what I said earlier, which is you can do this. You are worthy. You are capable. So I like that we have someone here that's representing a contrary card to the norm. That's why recently I've been working with maybe 5 or 6 decks, because I'm trying to find modern cards. And a lot of times some of my old cards, they're just the same old, same old. So I really like some of these decks that are pushing through and trying different things. So this is one of those decks. It definitely is modern and I like it. All right, let's take a look here at the outcome card. So we have the Page of Cups. This is love. This is an opportunity. This is happiness. This is what you've been working for, isn't it, Taurus? It feels like everything's starting to come into a nice focal point for you, and I like that quite a bit, okay? So I think that if you're ready and willing to take the change and take the leap, I see happiness. I see things coming into fruition. Remember, however, what I said earlier, that there are, even though it didn't show up in the spread, it still showed up with my guides as I was doing my work this morning and tuning in. The hidden piece on this is that there could be the 3 of Cups, gossip, hearsay, someone in your life that's trying to make you second guess yourself. There could be the devil energy stepping in and saying, but wait, we want to keep you back here where we're comfortable. And the devil can actually be mom, dad, family, friends, because they don't want to see you grow. They don't want you to kind of go out of that nest. So you're going to be fine, but there's a little bit of those sort of, some of those strings that you're going to cut this month as well in order to claim or reclaim this happiness that we see here, okay? Super powerful and empowering, and I would expect nothing less from Taurus. Strong sign, fierce energy, and one of the cool things with you is you can push through some of these boundaries. Again, speaking from experience from my own placement, even though it's not sun, I'm happy to have it in my moon. Nobody can bulldoze over me because I know who I am, and I'm willing to stand up for that. It took a lot of time to get there, I will say, but once I finally embraced that, then there's no letting go of it. So celebrate that strong Taurus energy and use it in a really powerful way to push through to your goals. All right, so that's beautiful. Let's go ahead now and move on to the expanded forecast. We're going to be looking at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Each one of these is multi-part, and that means that when we look at health, I'm going to be looking at mind, body, and spirit. Wealth is going to be looking at money, opportunity, life, purpose. Love is going to be looking at all the different relationships in your life, and destiny is something that you're constantly shifting and changing. So let's take a look at health first. Your health card here is a really cool reflective card, and I have some decks that are actually just images, and it kind of flexes your psychic muscle a bit. Let's take a look at this. It reminds me a lot of what I would see in the Seven of Cups card, where you are sometimes gazing into possibilities. Seven of Cups, Four of Cups. It can also be the moon. All the reflective and projecting sort of cards there in tarot. You don't see the true version of yourself, however. A lot of times what you're seeing, like the ripples in the water, that can represent some of the kind of myopic or bent imagery that we're kind of taught to see ourselves as. Again, some of the limitations I was just talking about, whether it's through age, through race, through place of origin, et cetera, gender, all of this stuff. It's much more fluid than you think, and it's much less important than we think. One thing that I eventually want to talk about in my podcast when it comes to like reincarnation is the fact that we've been everything under the sun. By the time we've been around this earth a few times, you've been male, you've been female, you've been every walk of life from rich to poor. You've had pretty much every experience. So it actually makes no sense to have prejudice against someone else because you were that, you may be that, and you are that in some way. So everything around you is basically something you can be or have been. So just start to realize that you are powerful enough to also change the glass in front of you and let people see a different part of yourself. So you're more than meets the eye, and don't let what's in your head or what's in the mirror hold you back from where you know you can be. Again, talking about athletes, they already have that magic piece under wraps, and they know how to do it. But it's basically, they see themselves on the podium with their national anthem playing, and they know they can do it. It's just a matter of overcoming their own limits or making sure, have I done enough work to actually be faster than this person? So see yourself at the end point long before you're ever there. See past the limitation. How does it factor into health? Getting better after an injury. Not accepting that this is the limit. Keep continuing to push. For people that have had whether it's a broken bone or stroke or any sort of issue where someone says this is as good as it's going to get, we can always surprise the doctors by continuing to push and evolve and say, no, there's more. I'm gonna go a little bit further. So definitely when it comes to recovery, there's that, and then self-confidence as well. You are not just what your partner, your friends, or your family sees. You're much more than that. Okay. Let's specifically look at some of the cards here on the table, go a little bit deeper and see what messages are coming through for health. Well, it's an important time for change. I feel like if any of you are recently in a relationship or have just moved, it's going to take a little bit of time for you to get used to those changes. So the adjustment card here, the Tower, is on top of it. But every other card, if I take the Tower out, there's not a negative card in the bunch. Okay? That's why I can say this is positive change, but it is about sort of just, for some of you, being seen, because the Hermit likes being sort of hidden. And for some of you, it's also about making sure that you're keeping an open mind to some of these changes as well, because it's sometimes easier and more comfortable to just see everything as it was. So that's really the big thing here for many of you, is just adjusting to change. And that's going to be a mental thing that you might have to talk to a friend or a counselor about a bit. Making sure that the environment is what you want it to be, because if we revisit the dead end card here, This is the answer, the world card, to the dead end. And this card is showing you that when you see past or beyond that dead end, then you're going to be able to be happier and healthier, okay? Let me see what else we're looking at here. So much cognitive energy this month. We basically got every card except my favorite one, the Queen of Wands. You got the Knight, the Page, and the King. Yeah, so we're just missing the Queen. So for some of you, there's family. When I look at this many, it's actually, 2 is usually a couple, 3 or 4 can be a family. Family energy could be pulling at you a little bit, and that might be where the dead end is. There could be sort of conditions on it. You can't do this, or you have to listen to this, or they're unwilling to allow you to sort of move and change the way you want or need to. So you're going to have to kind of like shift through that. You might have to take some time off. Get away from whatever it is that's kind of creating this lack of stability, all right? Ultimately, you're going to get there. You're going to be there. It's going to be all right. Balance, of course, this is the last thing that I'll talk about with health, and then we'll move on to wealth, which is actually showing health, ironically. But with the last thing here is balance. So make sure that you have balance across your life. It could be how much you're working, how much you're eating, how you feel, and also just, I had a relative also who's having some issues with inner ear. It could be something like that. When it comes to health, and I should put this disclaimer up just out of courtesy, when it comes to things like this, you should always go and talk to a health professional. But what I'm picking up on is you could trip, you could be distracted, there could be something in the inner ear. There could also just be a larger sort of opportunity to balance out your life. So definitely take that seriously. All right, let's move on to wealth. And health and wealth are tied together this month. This isn't unusual, because if we don't have that sort of abundance coming through, then it starts to freak us out, and then it hits our emotions. So let me just put my glasses on for this. It says, I will honor the physical vessel that enshrines my soul. So if your body isn't where it needs to be, your wealth is not going to matter. Wealth without health is basically poverty, and that's what this card is showing you. So this month, do what's necessary to be absolutely healthy, and ask your family, friends, or boss, whoever it is around you that's affecting this, to give you that support. Just as an example, like when a long time ago when my father passed away, I was working at a job where there wasn't a lot of support. Someone actually called me out a couple weeks after he passed away as not being focused enough. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. And I basically just asked to be off that project. I'm like, I don't want to work with that person because they lack empathy and I need time. And who would be better in like 2 weeks? So it takes time. There could also be someone that's making you work too many late hours. And it's just not realistic, especially in a pandemic. There could just be some sort of an expectation, and you're gonna use your inner bull and come up and say, no, we're not gonna do this. So be the Taurus that you are, and stand up for yourself if you need to. The health is so important. Some of you, of course, may just be deciding to take a journey into health or well-being, whether it's like metaphysics or actually traditional paths like health and medicine. This is great. So no matter what, you've got to focus on the body and mind, body, spirit as well. Looking at the cards here in general, let's see if there's some other cards coming through for wealth, specifically for wealth. Interestingly enough, no pentacles, right? All right, so except for that little tiny one there, and I kind of talked about needing to focus. So I'm gonna write down here that I wanna look at resources. This is very common. We got one card yesterday, but I'm noticing it feels like money or resources are taking somewhat of a lesser seat in March. So I'm just going to sort of look at this and say, like, where are they? Where are the resources? What's going on with that? All right, so that's my little reminder to myself to look at it when we go to the reader's choice. But just kind of looking at what is available to us here. Some of you need to get out of whatever it is that you're doing here. So we have the dead end card. So there may be one of those limits that I talked about when I was looking at this very unusual king. Maybe the reason we don't have a queen here is because it's embodying both energies, and that's fine. But if you have a dead end, then it's time to get out. You are not stuck. There's another opportunity. You may have to raise your hand and try to create it, but you can create it. Your networking ability is pivotal to your success. It's not necessarily what you know or how you do it. It is who you know. So work on those connections. I do see the ability for a nice big change to happen for you. Past, present, your headspace, and the future here, it's all positive. So you can create the change. You can open up a door even if it doesn't exist. A move may be necessary. A move of like from one location or one company to another. And there could be a little bit of pressure. I'm getting ahead of myself, but on the relationship here. So as you're moving through this sort of change in career or school or life purpose, there could be pressure on the relationship. So when I look at love, I'll examine that a little closer. There's a lot of competition, I have to say, for those of you that are in a job where you do feel like you have this dead end. I see too many people that want the same thing. So the Olympic example is an apt one. Keep pushing, but you may have to move on, up, or out. There's also a lot of mouths to feed. So the Six of Pentacles energy comes to mind, where you're going to decide what the best investment is. And you can't do everything for everyone. You can't be everything for everyone either. So those are the main messages when it comes to wealth. For life purpose here, it does feel like some of you are really focusing on internal development. So I do think it would be a great time. This is also a card for school and learning. Sometimes we need to we want to keep that to ourselves before we share it. I know when I started learning about metaphysics and specifically about tarot, I didn't tell everybody. Now all you have to do is type my name and my first name and the first letter of my last name, and it's going to pop up in Google, but it wasn't always that out there. So I needed to know who I was first before I kind of told everybody, and then I don't care anymore. But we all have that kind of coming out to ourselves, whatever that coming out is. I am this, I am that, I want to be this. So I think one of the things for you when it comes to life purpose, career, and also just being successful in both, it is accepting who you are, okay? So just to kind of remind us where we've been as I pour some more water for myself here. In the expanded forecast here, we've just done health, wealth. We're going to now go into love. As I said earlier, love is not just romantic. It's also the key relationships that you care the most about. So if you're not in a romantic relationship, I want you to think about the person that's on your mind the most. It may even be someone that you don't like, but because it's a thin line between love and hate, like that old song goes. So there's usually passion and energy there. So whoever's on your mind the most, as I read people in relationships, you can apply it to that. Let's take a look at, first of all, the card that came through for this. So we have the porcupine here, and it says time for a beginner mind, or kind of like the fool energy, basically. Porcupines are powerful, and they are not necessarily a bad symbol. What it does show me, though, is that somebody may be very excitable or can put their guard up. I definitely know one or two porcupines in my life, in my family, in my friend circle. And it's someone who's, when they're afraid, they just put the daggers out, right? And you're sometimes caught in the crossfires. I can't remember. I've done this as a totem before. It reminds me to keep it in the sort of like cycle of potential totem animals. But I think sometimes those can be thrown out too. So you just want to be careful. If someone is in a bad mental state, maybe they're dealing with something going on, like a breakup or a health problem, they're the porcupine. You just want to steer clear of them. This is also a reminder that you have the capacity to protect yourself, so you can always put up the shield if you need to. But I really see this more as the partner, the friend, or that other person in your life. So be careful, tread lightly, because you might be caught in the crossfires otherwise. All right, let's specifically look at some of the cards and see what other messages come through for you as we're looking at love. Okay, I always like to break this down into three parts. We'll start first with those of you in the relationship, then we'll go to looking for a relationship, and then we'll look at unattached. So if you're in a relationship, it's a good month, actually. Smack dab at the center, we have the Four of Wands. The thing that could kind of freak you out is it's getting bigger. It's going to a different level. This is especially for those of you that might be freshly in a new relationship. What we see is chemistry, friendship, and wow. It's kind of at a point now where you're maybe a little shy. You both are feeling it, but nobody's really saying, like, are we going to do something more with this? How serious are we going to get? So some of you may be having the talk of exclusivity or engagement or that next level. For the rest of you, let's say the relationship's a little bit more long in the tooth. It's time to shake things up a little bit. We still see the friendship, but you could have grown a little bit used to one another, and maybe there's less of that chemistry and excitement than there used to be. So this is about opening up, talking a little bit, trying different things. And I think it'll be well worth the energy and the investment there. I also see that for existing relationships, even though we didn't get the Three of Cups, I have the Three Cups here personified. We have the Knight, the Page, and the King. So this one is your outcome, so I'm not reading it as a person. So I really do think that there could just be a lot of friend or family drama that you're going to have to try to work around. You deserve to be happy. It's going to be okay. And you just have to push through this, okay? For those of you looking for love this month or looking for the right connection, because it could be business too, I do see a change. I think that whatever you have been feeling, we see a difference from that. So if there's been a lot, it might go backwards a little bit. You might have a little bit of a lull. If you've been waiting, then there's a lot of engagement. It could be more platonic. There could be a bunch of people that you're meeting and it's either they are friends or you don't hit it off romantically, but you find a potential friend in that. So I like that. Love is within reach, but wow, there's a lot going on for you this month. So I think what's important for you is to figure out how to juggle time, energy, and resources. We're going to look at that when I do Reader's Choice in a few moments. But in the meantime, I would say it's within reach, but just don't lose your focus, because the big opportunity for you this month is to get past this dead end and do something really cool in your life. So relationships can sometimes be a distraction. So if you don't have one and you're looking for it, get everything else sorted out first before you go into that. Okay? I think that's really, really important. Let's go ahead now and look at those of you that are single, happy, unattached, or disinterested in perhaps relationships. Too bad, because there's still going to be great energy around partnerships. I say that in a loving way, not in a dismissive way. You still have a really magnetic energy this month. So when it comes to business, I actually feel like this is a really good time for you. You're going to have an easy go at connecting with people. You're going to be like a nice chameleon when it comes to, or a butterfly when it comes to social engagements. So that's good. Things are going to be a little messy, perhaps. Your calendar could be all over the place. You're probably going to be desiring some space. I neglected to say for the other relationship states, I think everybody wants a little bit of quote unquote me time. So create some of that special time for yourself so that you're not feeling, again, stretched too thin. I think that you can get a lot of work done, and you're going to be potentially tasked or asked. Sometimes people don't ask you, they're just saying, do it, to lead people. So are you ready to step into that leadership role? There's a lot of visibility. You're probably going to do a great job at it. So think about that. Okay, let's go ahead now and move on to the Destiny card. As I said earlier, this is very much a malleable card. We have the Gate card rather. This is the Bardo reimagined. The card is reversed, so the way in which this comes through may be surprising, but that's what we see here. I was talking about opening up a gate. That's what you're doing. So if you feel stuck, like this dead end card here, you have the capacity to unstick yourself. That doesn't sound well. You have the ability to undo that sort of block in your life. So use the key, open the lock, say goodbye to the things that were kind of creating blocks around you, okay? And you create the opening. There may be someone else partnering up with you to do this. So we have the gate here, but if we look back at the center here, we have a combination, partnership and change. Partnership, change, and reveal. And then all of this opens up the gate, but you have to believe in that magic of opening of the gate for it to happen, okay? So there you go. All right. So that is everything when it comes to that part of the reading. So we just did the Celtic Cross and expanded forecast. We're going to look at the big idea next. If you just happen to join, as you can see here, this can be used for Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus. I don't answer questions. You can save the question until the end when I do the final card. So that's when I'll answer that. So let's go ahead and move along to the big idea. Big idea is a single card that gives you something to focus on, something to kind of like really understand what should I be doing this month. So let's look at the big idea, and then we'll move on to blessings and blocks. Big idea, stay positive. Focus on really what you can do and celebrate all the little victories along the way. Power of positivity is not to be underestimated, and the Nine of Cups definitely says that, okay? Sometimes going to extremes can be kind of like crazy, but what I like about the Nine of Cups here is that I recently had an experience with close family member where we had to go into an experience where we're just like, we're going to put our best energy forward and see what happens. And lo and behold, if you believe that it will be good, it will be good. So I want you to kind of understand the power of projection this month, particularly if you're thrown into an uneasy situation. Just think like, I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm not going to be stressed out. I've got this. And we see her unbothered. She's like, I'm choosing happiness. She's crossed her shoulders and saying like, that doesn't work with me. I'm good. I'm happy. You're not going to take my happy away. And that's what I'm getting with this really fun Nine of Cups. So we're going to focus on the positive just like this. All right. Let's go ahead now and move on to blessings and blocks. Pretty self-explanatory. These are things to really embrace and a couple of things maybe to avoid here as we look at the blocks. Both of these can be deceptive sometimes. So you can have a blessing in disguise or a block like this, which we kind of already got, that's really helping you get out of something that you shouldn't be focusing on, okay? So let's go ahead now and give it a shuffle and see what's going on. All right. Starting first with your blessing. I'm going to pull both cards at once, but we'll see. So your blessing card this month is King of Cups. Yeah, we'll take that. And let's take a look at your block. We got the Fool. All right, both of them are good. Nothing really crazy there. All right, so let's start with the blessing card. King of Cups. Love. Happiness. We've got a lot of great cups energy coming through. The Page of Cups is an offer or love or an opportunity that's presented to you. This is your creativity, your empathic sort of ability. It's off the charts right now. There could also be a really great water sign coming into your life in the form of love or friendship. And so for you, it's just a kind of question of, do I want this? We have a little fish there. Looks like the Pisces energy as well. So for many of you, I just see happiness after a period of maybe frustration or unhappiness. Who wouldn't want that, right? Increased focus on emotional well-being, increased focus on relationships overall, a new understanding that this would be your mantra. I deserve this. I worked hard for this. I am worthy. Using those positive mantras to attract and reinforce the positive changes that you have in your life, okay? Let's look at the block. For the block here, we have the Fool. Are you ready and willing to take the risk and the leap of faith? Or are you afraid of the unknown? Are you listening? The interesting thing, this Fool doesn't quite show it the way it should. The dog is having a lot of fun on this particular card. If we're looking at the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, it actually pulls at the pant leg of the trousers of the Fool to just sort of say, wait a second, assess what you're going to do and then take a calculated leap. So for you, I would say calculate the leap of faith before moving too much. If this was a blessing, I would just say go for it. Because it's in the block, we got to listen to the little dog and remember that it's trying to alert us to danger. My little sleeping beauty in the background there, Apollo, he doesn't bark. He was a rescue, and I think that he wasn't treated well when he barked, so he's very quiet. But I can count usually on one hand how many times he's barked, and it's only been when like one time someone was opening the door and I hadn't locked it, I just moved in, and he was like, we're in danger. Another time when someone was trying to open the door in an old apartment or whatever. So he knows, and he would bark. It was a very low bark. Whenever you hear barking in the background, it's always my neighbors. It's usually not my dog, or he's asleep maybe. But it's a warning. When you have an animal in the house, they know what footsteps are normal. They know what smells are normal. They know if you need to pay attention. So this is paying attention to the important warning signs, whether it's the voice in your head that says, I shouldn't do it, whether it's someone that you trust kind of asking you, have you looked at this and this? Whatever it is, the Fool card is saying, before you take the leap, calculate the risk, then you can take the leap, okay? If you do it too fast, then you might end up kind of like in an interesting position that you don't want. All right, so we're gonna move along now. Let's take a look at where we're at here. We just finished up blessings and blocks. I'm gonna look at viewer's choice and reader's choice. Before I go in there, just a quick reminder, if anyone just joined, please do hit the like button. You can only do it once, but it helps. If you've never subscribed, give me a subscribe so that you can keep in the loop of this and future impromptu readings as well. And now let's go ahead and move along to the viewer's choice. So I split this into two parts. I'm going to put something out there for you to vote on while I then do a reader's choice. Let me grab the keyboard real quickly here, and I'm going to look at some stuff. I've already decided that I will take a look at resources, so that one's decided. Let's look at some other stuff that we can benefit from understanding right now. All right. So if you're watching this on a computer or a mobile device, you should be able to vote. If you're looking at it on a TV, you're not going to be able to because this requires input. So viewers choice. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, I want to look at relationships because they played such a pivotal role, specifically when we got the King of Cups. So I'm going to say with relationships, really putting in that energy of feeling like you deserve it. So power, you're finding your power in relationships. Finding your power in relationships would be the first thing that comes to me. The next thing is opening the portal of opportunity, because that's really important. And the next thing would be adapting to change, since we have the Tower. So I'll give you a chance to vote on all of these while I go ahead and take a look at the question that I'd written down, which is focusing on the resources, like where are they? So let's give the cards a shuffle and see what's coming through for your resources while you vote. Okay, Four of Pentacles, what a great answer to that question. All right, so the Four of Pentacles is a limiting card. This is usually holding on to something that you've long since outgrown. It's also sometimes giving so much that there's not enough to grow, to sustain. So if you are, for instance, a stay-at-home dad or mom, and you are maybe also working from home, you might be balancing a lot of things. So maybe you're working from home, you're raising a child, you're also running a bunch of other errands, and it just feels like all the day is filled up. There's like all these little pie chart things, and there's no time for you. So you could be giving so much of yourself that there's nothing left. So this is about reclaiming, maybe saying no to a couple of those obligations. If you have a partner, making sure that they're stepping in. If your child's old enough, making sure that they understand that there's a trade-off for some of these things, and making sure that everybody is doing their fair share. If you are kind of like operating something like a nonprofit, this is too much. You have to have more left so that you can pay for overhead. This is not a break-even card. This is less than. So when it comes to pay, salary, and resources overall, I want you to go for a little bit more if you need it. For the rest of you, there could just be something that you're holding on to that you've outgrown, like an old shirt with holes in it or something. It's time to release that. So whatever it is, growth is inhibited by maintaining or holding on to what is or what was. There has to be some shift and movement. Don't give away your time, energy, or services all the time. I think seva or service or volunteer work has a time and a place, and it should be part of that big pie chart of your time. It's really good to give service, and kind of like what I do here is also giving back. But you can't do it all the time for everybody, or else you will be exhausted. So you have to speak up. You have to say no. There's probably something in your life where it's time to ask for more than you have. And it's hard to do that. I've been there, but it feels good once you've done it, okay? So don't limit yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for a little bit more. More likely than not, based on the cards that I see, you're going to get what you're asking for. All right, by a landslide, we got opening the portal, over 50%. So I'll pause for a second, but I'm pretty darn sure that that one's going to come through. So we'll give everything a shuffle. And let's turn down to the desk for a second while I'm doing that and see what's coming through for opening up the portal. Good choice, because I feel like that's the focus between these two cards here. Okay, so in opening up the portal, we actually got a power symbol here, which is the Emperor. And so for some of you, you're going to have to do this on your own. The Emperor is saying, if I can't find the right way to do this, I'm going to do it. I like that we kind of see the horns on this particular Emperor, which is saying it's not quite a bull, it looks like a ram to me. But nonetheless, it's saying I'm willing and ready to kind of push through it. So it still kind of relates to your avatar, which is just kind of like you may have to be the one that makes it happen. And also to not let someone say your experience, lack of experience, or abundance of experience is going to hold you back. I can think of a lot of examples in entrepreneurial situations where, particularly in tech companies, it's been younger CEOs that kind of step to the top. And then also we see a lot of other companies where they keep bringing people back out of retirement 2 or 3 times because they can't find that wealth of knowledge, right? So you know which companies I'm talking about, like the CEOs retired twice and they come back. So you're never too old, you're never too young, and you're always capable of pushing through. But I wish, because I'm more of a creative type, and I have degrees that are more focused on creative, but I had a few business classes, and I'm so glad that I did, because what I'm doing now requires me managing myself and others and really believing in the sort of bigger vision of what's possible. So I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter if you have no school, a ton of school, a lot of experience, no experience. If you have a really good idea, that idea can take off. And it feels like to me, whatever that is, you just have to hold true to it, hold the mantle. There could be someone in your life that steps in and hovers and makes you second guess your power, because we're really looking at opening up that portal. So don't let someone else hold you back. And that's what could be happening here with this, and say, like, you can't do this, you're too young, you're too old, you're not this enough, not that enough. They're just afraid of letting you go. They're just afraid of letting you fly. So you really have a chance to fly this month. And I think that if you can allow yourself to do that, you'll be surprised at how far you can fly. So push through, own your power, ask for a little bit more, ask in general, and you will receive, okay? But if you don't ask, nobody really knows how to show up for you, right? Okay, good choice. I'm glad you voted on that one. It was a really fun card to kind of pick up and read. All right, so we've been through just about everything. We're going to focus now on the final portion, which includes 3 different things. We'll do a mini meditation, a sound bath, and the final card. The final card is a lot of fun because it gives me a chance to answer the questions. I saw people sometimes putting their sort of questions out there. So if you have that, this is the time to kind of write it down, and I will read it in just a few minutes. Before I get into that, again, just a quick note. You can always get reminders of what I'm doing on social media. I pinned that link earlier, so feel free to check out my website for information. If you want to continue to see videos like this, hit the subscribe button and the like button, and then when this is on replay, comment. Why is that important? Because YouTube said it is. It helps serve it up. I've noticed that there's been fewer comments and fewer likes, so either people are just getting used to it, or I need to change up the topic. So I do pay attention to that, and if you do like this, hit the like button and comment later on replay, just so that I can continue to see growth. Otherwise, it tells me I need to change up the format a bit, okay? So I do pay attention, and that part is lacking a little bit, so I'd love to see some support there. And also, if you want to show some support with super stickers or super chats, you can do that as well. I always say thank you at the end. All right, let's get ready for the meditation. The meditation is going to include a chance for us to break through some things. So I really love the energy here of this iris and kind of like opening up this gate. I recently rewatched and then watched season 2 of The Witcher. One of the cool things that the mages can do is kind of open that gate that we saw there. Like Yennefer can do that. I've seen her open it up. So we can imagine that we have that capacity to kind of like create our own future, our own opportunity, and then step through it and maybe even change a little bit. And I think that's what I want to do in the meditation as I'm looking at the gate card. Okay, so let me quickly give you a chance to vote on which instrument you'd like me to play. Then I'll read your final card. So keep that question nearby, and we'll get to it in just a second. So before I set up the meditation, you can vote on the crystal pyramid or the singing bowl. Both of them are actually glass, but anyway, I'm just going to call it out like that. So there you go. Vote on whichever one you would like. Let's set up the meditation, and then I will help you with that sound bath in just a second. All right, so I'd like you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine that you are kind of in a starry night, looking up at the sky above you. You can see the North Star, you can see the moon, you can see the very edge of the Milky Way. Imagine that there's this lovely tree that you're sitting under, and just lean against it for a second, take a deep breath, and feel that you are present in this moment in time on this planet, and know that you've earned this moment in time of being here, of reclaiming your power. We could even imagine, like one of the Wands card here, the King of Wands, that there's like a throne sitting against this tree, and you're connecting with the energy of the wood and also the planet there, really feeling solid and on this plane. As you breathe in, I want you to stand up tall and stretch out any of the energy that's been stagnant, dormant, or maybe even beyond your perception. And as you start to breathe, you start to feel like cell by cell, you're activating the sort of fiery energy within, because we're using the King of Wands here. And so as you move your hand around a little bit, you can see this sort of trail of light. As you maybe move your scepter around, the Ankh that we saw with the Emperor, you also see this trail of light. I want you to create what looks like a figure eight on its side, the infinity in front of you. And see now that you are in the center of the circle of energy, the circle of light. You are vibrant and filled with that life force. And now you can take that, and that figure eight can actually be stretched out to create a big zero, just like the Fool card. And basically you're going to step through this O-shaped portal. And remember that the Fool is zero. And you're going to step into something new. Remember I said to calculate what the risk is. So look to the left, look to the right, look behind you, listen to the guides. And as I start to play the instrument here, which you chose, which was the crystal pyramid, I want you to see if there's any messages before you go through the portal. Imagine that this portal could be whatever color you'd like it to be. It could be golden, it could be a rainbow. Also imagine that you can start to see your goal manifesting on the other side. And as you step through it, you're one step closer today. All right, keep that vision as I play the crystal here, and then we will take a look at your final card. If you haven't already done so, I want you to imagine that you're starting to step through that portal, letting go of the limits of the past, feeling now that you are completely capable and ready for the opportunities that await you. Repeating some of the mantras that we said earlier. I am worthy. I am ready. I am ready for love and abundance in the highest forms, allowing that to really sit with you. Definitely the I am worthy and I am ready piece is going to be the most important. When you're ready, I want you to gently open your eyes. Focus on whatever question I haven't already answered. Sometimes this can be the question that you're afraid to ask. This can be the question that you're dying to ask, or it could just be general guidance from the universe. But just state in some way, shape, or form what you would like me to look at. And let's take a look. Lo and behold, it was the card that I kind of placed in my earlier spread here. It's the Empress. This was the card that I looked at earlier, and I'm like, I really need to use this deck today. All right, so the Empress card is an emphatic yes. And it was kind of like, it was what I summarized everything with, which is to be strong enough to walk away from something that doesn't suit you. I like that we see crystals all around her. So the clarity and the belief and the understanding that you have in your headspace is going to be important. This is a yes, and this is a card of the worthiness that I just talked about. So it's probably not an accident that it came up here at the end. So remember that the most important thing for you as you step into opportunities in the month ahead is to never put yourself in that sort of back seat permanently. We balance. All relationships are kind of like, there's this moment of give and take. So if you don't get the reciprocity that you deserve, then she's coming through to say, come on now, you know you can do this. So also, if you need to take up the mantle yourself, it's the same energy really as the Emperor, which is saying, I can do this. But there is a nurturing piece to this. And so there's a reminder that as you state your claim, as you express your power, you're going to do so in a way that is generous and kind and direct. So I do feel like you can do this very nicely. There isn't sort of like an emphasis right now on creation with this card. It can be very sort of broadly interpreted. So for some of you, you're embarking on creating something in your life. Some of you might be figuratively birthing something that's important to you. And you also might be focusing on parenting, because this can be a part of that as well. The Empress reminds you that even if you didn't get the support you needed as a kid, you can do that for yourself. You always have the capacity to love, to nurture, and to kind of like parent yourself. So really nothing negative with the Empress. It's a yes, and you can do it, but you need to do it, and there is accountability that's a part of this next expression or experience in your life. Okay? So beautiful energy, Taurus. I love today. It always kind of depends on who shows up and what the energy is, but really great energy. So if you liked what you saw today, please share it on social media. Let some other people know about it. I would love for you to do that. All right, let me quickly say thank you to all of you that joined. One last time, again, if you do want to share it on social media, you have all of my connections here. You already know, like if you just joined. Otherwise, thank you for doing so. And I'm going to say thank you here in just a moment to all of you that gave back. Just a quick reminder before I do that, I will be live this weekend. I always do a collective on Sundays, so you can show up every Sunday. You can also show up to, honestly, every reading. I've wondered at some point if collectives would be the way to go, and I just read elements at some point, because I've noticed higher attendance at collectives and much lower attendance at the monthlies here. So the way that I read is everyone that comes through gets a message. So just show up whenever you want to, and I do impromptus as well, so I hope to see you there. My schedule's updated. It's on my website. You can get more information there. All right. Let me just give some gratitude here at the end, and then we'll close for today. I want to say thanks and welcome. First of all, welcome to anybody that's brand new. Good to have you here as a part of this community. I know a lot of you have been with me for a while, so I appreciate you as well, especially those of you that are contributing, whether it's Super Chat, Super Stickers, or a member or a Patreon. You've enabled me to kind of like step it up this year, and that was one of my goals, so thank you so much. I also put a post on the community tab, so if there's some things that you would like me to, I'm looking for new suggestions. So go to my website and look at the current decks that I have, and if there's something that's missing, particularly something with more inclusive and modern imagery, today's deck was a perfect example. I'd love to see more like that. I got a bunch of suggestions for decks that I had, which tells me I'm on the right path, but if there's anything that I don't have, I'd love to see those as well. You can put those in the comments below too. I'll see them in either place. Okay, so let's go to thanks now. I want to welcome anybody that's brand new and anybody that gave back. I'll start with the members first. These are members that joined in the past day or so. Let's take a quick look, and I got to put my glasses on for this. All right, so it looks like today we actually have someone named Fire. Welcome, Fire. Thank you for rejoining after 7 months of membership. I appreciate that. Also, within the past day here, we have a few more. So Sherry Childers, Carol Ann, CM Hansen, Lisa Dawn, Gwendolyn Chapman, and I think those are all the ones from yesterday. The other ones I remember actually thanking in yesterday's reading. So thank you to all of those folks for joining or rejoining. It's good to have you back. All right, let me say thank you to those of you that gave back with a Super Chat or Super Sticker. Let's see what's going on here today. All right, Taurus. So thank you to Liz Morrison for kicking things off today. Appreciate that. Muggle 1983 as well. Thank you very much. Conscious Candace, thank you. And I remember your name. It's good to have you back. Isha Marie, thank you too. You were one of the members that upgraded the other day, so thank you for doing that. MJ, Lavender, and Fab OG42. Great team today, great energy. Thank you so much if you were able to give back, and even if you weren't, I'm just happy to have you here, so thank you so much. All right, that little guy behind me is napping, but I'm going to take him for a walk and get started on my day. I hope to see everybody on Sunday. In the meantime, I'm wishing you all the best. Thank you for making this a really great reading today. I hope you got what you needed out of it. Thanks again to Maria for her help with moderation. And just a quick reminder, next week I'll be reading Gemini, Cancer, and Leo. You can get that full schedule on my website. All right, everybody, have a good day. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.